All right, guys, welcome to the Gentleman's Table podcast. We're here. We have a new guest, Elliot. Elliot, do you want to kind of explain your coming to fame as of lately? He kind of started social media not too long ago, and now he's kind of blowing up.
So I honestly did not even plan on starting social media. It all kind of happened, not by accident, because I sat down and was posting, but I just didn't expect it so fast. Right now, all I have is my Instagram account, which is just under 12K.
Wow.
Since I think I started posting like mid-October. But really, what kind of led me to the place where I was going to post, I always had it in the back of my mind that I'm going to do some form of social media at some point in the future. But it was a conversation with one of our mutual acquaintances who's one of my mentors in life. His name is Jason. But he said, you have so many things you can talk about, because I am very, very fascinated with personal development, with leadership, and more recently with Catholicism. And over the past year, in 2025, I read 35 books on leadership, on Catholicism, on philosophy, listened and read 35 books. So he said, you have so much content, you have so many things that you could talk about. You are depriving the world of the things you have to say. Just sit down and hit record.
Wow, that's a good way of putting it.
Yes. So I did what he said. I sat down and hit record, and I did not expect anything crazy to come from it. The first couple videos I talked about, maybe like the first 5 or 6, were just about like motivation, about discipline, a little bit about politics, and it was kind of on the end of my not the end, but I had been deeply researching Catholicism and the Catholic Church for about 5 months before I started posting. And I really kind of felt like God was calling me to just talk about the questions that I had been taking into my research. So I did. And people really, 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 really liked it. And my account started to explode very quickly. And I got invited out to Baltimore on a pilgrimage with Father Leo.
Wow!
Yes, that was.
I know who Father Leo is.
Yes. So it was actually super, super cool. I honestly did not even expect it, but he invited 12 Catholic curious creators. So I went with a bunch of other content creators, and we explored some of the oldest churches and cathedrals in the country. Got to meet a ton of awesome people who were on the trip with me as well. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So it's just a very, very short amount of time, but so much has happened.
Dude, shout yourself out, bro.
That's cool. Yeah, I've met Father Leo a couple times, actually.
Really?
You're talking about the cook guy, right?
Yeah, that's
yeah,
it.
I've met him a couple times. Yeah, he used to do a bunch of seminars at my old church when I grew up in Michigan.
Yeah.
Really? That's really cool. Yeah.
That's sick.
Dude, he's such an amazing guy.
He's a
so
cool
kind.
guy. Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me that he was coming out with like social media creators and stuff, because he's really like into that, like not into that kind of thing, but he likes expanding.
Well, he
things
understands that that's the way to actually spread God's word at this point.
No, he's a really cool guy. He like does like his own like Catholic cooking show. It's really cool.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he's really cool.
He's been around for a long time. Something he said to us on the first night, like he had everybody sitting, because he owns a restaurant.
Yeah.
So he has all of the content creators sitting down in the restaurant on the first night. He looks us in the eye. He's talking to us. He says, the Catholic Church has never done anything like this. This is the first time. You guys are the guinea pigs. Because he leads pilgrimages all the time.
Right.
But he's never specifically invited content creators who are going to record, talk about it, make videos, and do all these different things. So he says it's the first time they've ever done it, and now I think he's going to try to, just his ministry, Plating Grace, is going to try to do 2 of those pilgrimages for Catholic creators a year.
Wow.
So it's like
That's
something
awesome.
they're going to try to do like a lot more frequently.
They should go to Assisi actually pretty soon. They're displaying St. Francis's bones for the first time in 800 years.
Oh, interesting. I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, because me and my mom were planning on doing that, but I'm buying the housing process. It costs a lot of money to buy a house, so I was like, hey, if I buy a house, I might not be able to do it. But that was one of the things that I really wanted to do, was go onto a pilgrimage to Assisi and go to the Basilica of St. Francis.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That would have been really cool to see.
Yeah, that's an impressive thing that his bones are just still chilling there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you've heard the things, not necessarily St. Francis, but certain saints are, what's the word for it? Like there's certain body parts that like don't decay.
I don't remember the word.
I forgot what the word for it is, but it's like St. Anthony's tongue is still there.
Mm-hmm.
and a couple other saints, like certain things don't decay.
Interesting.
And St. Francis, just his bones are still on display, which is really cool.
Who's the one that they're revealing their bones for the first time in 800 years?
St. Francis. He's the Catholic Church has saints, and each saint is a patron saint of something. Typically, like St. Francis is the patron saint of animals. St. Michael is the patron saint of the armed forces and the military and stuff like that. And so there's an order of the Catholic Church called Secular Franciscans. So there's a whole huge order that like teaches the teachings of St. Francis and like, hey, live by the teachings of St. Francis, basically.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go on pilgrimages to Assisi to like visit his basilica and see all of the artifacts that like St. Francis has blessed and whatnot.
Oh, it's the 800th anniversary of his death.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so unique.
Yeah, and that's, in my opinion, that's what's really cool about the Catholic Church is that there's so much history.
Dude, yeah, exactly.
Is that you go to Rome, you go to the Vatican, there's so much stuff there.
Yeah, dude. Wow.
But
What's oh, after you.
Huh? No, you got it.
What's like, because you two are Catholic, born and raised, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
all
then-
three of us are.
Not me.
I'm
Oh,
not.
you're not.
No,
You're not.
so
You're
that's-
Catholic. You're Catholic.
So that's the thing about me is when I was making my content,
Mm-hmm.
I was raised Presbyterian.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm coming at the Catholic Church
Yeah.
from a viewpoint of I see the problems within the Protestant Church.
Yeah.
And a lot of the inconsistencies are what is driving my research.
Okay.
And it was through the research that I discovered the beauty and the tradition and
Yeah.
the Eucharist and
The history.
and just the richness of Catholicism and the truth that is present there. And it was the inconsistencies of the Protestant Church that pushed me into the research, and it was the truth of the Catholic Church that drew me there instead of something like Orthodoxy.
That's so good that you say that because that was actually one of the things that I wanted to ask you. So you talked about the inconsistencies of the church that you were at before.
Yes.
So looking from the outside in, being a new and growing Catholic, what do you think the problems are in the Catholic Church that we have now? So
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say the implementation of the doctrine, definitely the implementation of Vatican II. I see a lot of inconsistencies across the board with the liturgy. Like you see like all the memes, like the liturgy wars, like people who like TLM, which is TLM is just the Latin Mass, which was very traditional, is all in Latin. And then after Vatican, they came out with what's called the Novus Order, which is the Mass, but in everyone's own language, wherever they are geographically, which is good. But I think they changed a lot of things. They changed, like the priests used to face the altar, like they would face God, but now they face the congregation.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of different things that changed after Vatican II, but I'm actually started a series right now, which was very ambitious, where I was going to read all of the Vatican II documents and then make videos about it, and then it was taking me too long to read it to actually make the content. So it's on hold a little bit, but I am still reading through it. But I think it's definitely very misunderstood. I think people attribute most of Catholicism's problems today to that Second Vatican Council, when that's not entirely the council's fault. I think that a lot of it is generational. I think that in the 60s, you had the sexual revolution, you had the end of the Second World War, and you had the Great Generation passing on and the boomers kind of rising up. And I don't think that they did a good job raising the generation after. And I think that as a whole, we have a generational decline in our society of a loss of tradition, a loss of morals, and society is kind of on a decline. But I also think that echoes in the different areas of society like Catholicism. So I think that maybe Gen X and the millennials were poorly catechized in comparison to previous generations hundreds of years ago, and then they raised kids who were less catechized. And maybe you guys have insights on that, being raised Catholic, because I'm just an outsider looking in.
I was lucky because my mom is as Catholic gets. She has her own Bible study. She is very integrated into the church that we go to. And she taught me catechism from the time that you start catechism, like when you're like in kindergarten, like she would do like VBS for me. She'd volunteer at VBS and make sure she was my teacher and stuff, all the way up to when we got confirmed. So I never had a bad teacher because my mom was the one always doing it. And for everyone that was a part of my mom's class, because she also taught special needs people as well. She taught special needs people catechism and about the Catholic Church and whatnot. And what was good about that is, like, I don't know, no one can say a bad thing about my mom when it comes to her being a teacher and, like, teaching catechism.
Another shout out to Miss Hernandez.
Shout out,
We're
Miss
gonna have her on the
Hernandez.
podcast at some point.
Yeah, we were talking to her on the phone before. She seems down.
She's
so
she's
she'll
up
be
for
here.
it. She's game.
Don't you worry.
But so I don't know if Carter had a different, because your mom's very integrated into our church
yeah.
as well, because me and Carter go to the same church. And Miss Colleen was actually one of my youth ministers too, growing up when I got confirmed and whatnot. I've known Colleen before I even was friends with Carter. Like, I always knew who she was. Like, I knew she had a son, but I never knew who he was.
It was so funny when we realized that
Yeah.
you guys like knew each other but
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah, because she was my teacher. She was one of
She was the head youth minister for
yeah,
a
for
while.
a long time. Yeah, because I'd always see her after church. She's always there for Bible study, all that stuff.
So funny.
So it was funny that, like, I got to meet his mom before I was actually friends with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I just learned the basics through youth ministry and, you know, going to class every day after church on Sundays. I didn't really...
My realtor's calling me.
It's okay. But I don't know. I just never have found, you know, a reason to leave Catholicism like you have from being a Protestant. And I've never found a reason to go to some other, you know, style, I guess you could call it.
Elliot, I don't mean to interrupt
Huh?
if you're finishing.
No, well, I was going to ask Elliot a question on why do you think it's so hard for people these days to come to Catholicism? Because there's a lot of controversy. I know we kind of went over, like, the Vatican II. People don't align with that. But the Catholic Church is very controversial just because of its history. And I think people just have a block and they don't even want to look into it at all. And because you looked into it, you found the truth and everything into it. Why do you think people, like, hit that blockade?
So I think the answer is very simple, and then I could talk about the simple answer and dive into it, but I think it's pride versus humility.
Okay.
So I think that what it means to be humble inherently is to be willing to admit that you don't know. And when you're at a place where you are willing to admit that you don't know, that is when you seek. That is when you knock.
Right.
That's when you find, and that's when the door will be opened. So if someone is unwilling to be wrong, they're unwilling to seek, they're unwilling to knock, they're not going to find the truth. And I think that for so long, so many people have been so caught up in their thing, and like, this can happen to anybody. This can happen to a Catholic, to a Protestant, to an Orthodox guy, to an atheist, where they just get locked in on their dogma and they won't look at anything else because they're caught up in their own pride. That is what keeps people from seeking truth, is when they're convinced they're right out of their own pride and own arrogance. Right. I think that for a long time, it was harder and there were less people becoming Catholic until recently. Because in the past year and a half, there has been a revival in the Catholic Church. There have been thousands and thousands of people becoming Catholic. There have been thousands and thousands of people also becoming Orthodox or even starting to become Protestant. My dad's a pastor, and he says that every Sunday in the second service, the more traditional service, he has new families coming in.
Oh, wow.
Because I think that during COVID, when most of the churches shut down, Catholic churches didn't shut down, but the Protestant churches did. Yeah. So a lot of people left. Now, a lot of people are coming back, but I think that there's a generational hunger for something deeper, something true. I think that men inherently are created to be challenged, and the young men have not been challenged. They haven't been pushed, and we're hungry for a challenge. We're hungry for a fight. We're hungry for something difficult, something that we can pursue with all of our effort. And when we don't have that thing, it's like we feel stagnant.
Right.
And that's when you get the hedonistic culture that we have today, where it's all about drinking and sex and partying and drugs and like all these different things. It's all meaningless. So when you offer someone meaning, it's like, boom, they go all in. And now, because people have had that hunger for so long, well, now with social media, with AI, with the ability to learn anything in an instant, through one search engine, people are looking for truth. And society has pushed men to the place where they admit discomfort where they are.
Right.
And when you admit discomfort where you are, you're willing to say, I need to grow. I need to move somewhere else. I need to look for truth somewhere else. I need to seek. So you have essentially humbled the young men to pursue truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that work with your pastor, your dad being a pastor and you becoming Catholic?
So it's actually a pretty interesting dynamic. I asked him, I was like, when I was first like kind of dabbling a little bit, I wasn't really off the deep end. I said, okay, because we're Presbyterian. So for anyone who doesn't know, Presbyterian is a little bit more traditional than like your non-denominational, a little bit more traditional than like your Southern Baptist, and then a little bit less traditional than like your Anglican or your Lutheran. So they're kind of like in the middle on a lot of different things. But I said, okay, would you rather me become a Roman Catholic or a Southern Baptist? And he said, definitely Roman Catholic.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's an interesting, like, I remember, because I also grew up Presbyterian, and the way that you have to explain, like, Presbyterian to someone who's, like, a Baptist, like, because the majority of the big churches, the mega churches, are all, like, Baptist churches, and so when you're a Presbyterian, you know, you're still reading out of, like, your hymn books, like, there's very traditional, like, you know, you welcome the congregation and you're reading scripture, and there's just a lot of tradition that goes into it. And then when you go to a Baptist church, like, it's completely different at every church, right? And so it's really, you're there for the sermon, versus at a Presbyterian church, you're there for the whole experience.
That's how the Catholic Church is too, because
Exactly.
when a priest gives a homily, he like deciphers what you guys are talking about for the day.
Yeah.
And
Dude, some priests can give some fire
Whoa.
homilies, bro.
you know who in my opinion gives the best homilies are African priests. Priests from Africa, from Kenya, Nigeria, all those Western African countries, they are so filled with fire and the Holy Spirit.
Oh, dude, it's sick.
It's crazy.
We've had a couple people.
We've had a
come,
couple
yeah.
guys. I had a guy, Father Moses. He was the last priest I had at my church when I moved from Michigan. He was awesome. He was this dude that was like 5 foot nothing, straight from Kenya. He barely spoke English, but like he had a super thick accent, but it was hard to understand him.
Right.
But when you did understand, it's like, man,
You could feel
like you
the
could feel
energy.
just off his body language, like
bro.
he's truthful in what he says. Like he's backing that up, and like
that.
the whole congregation just feels his energy, and they're just like, yeah, I like what he's saying. It's awesome.
There's power to it, man. If you're a good public speaker, if you can speak in front of a crowd, there's
Oh,
power
yeah.
to it.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
How do you feel about traditional churches like the Roman Catholic Church? Do you feel, because I know like your church, like I said this when I went there for the first time, and it feels kind of like a concert. That's a very vague way to put it. But I enjoyed it. I had fun. You know, the service was really good, but it just wasn't as traditional. I didn't feel like, you know, I do when I go to a Catholic church, where I feel like I'm taking the Eucharist and I'm learning more about God in like a, I don't know how to explain it, a more traditional way. But how do you feel about all these new churches popping up with the trying to get more youthful stuff into it?
So I think that they are achieving what they set out to do,
Okay.
which was conform to the culture so that you can attract more members.
Mm-hmm.
When the culture loves concerts and fun and engagement in that way, they turn themselves into an aspect of the culture that attracts people. Now people are attracted to the churches because the churches are like the culture.
Mm-hmm.
So when the churches have to take a stand on what is true, the people, the members of that church are going to be, wait a minute, this doesn't match up with why I'm here. So you essentially make the entire reason that somebody is there, yeah, it's a little bit about Jesus, but it's also the music is really good.
Yeah.
And I really like what this guy has to say. But when that is the reason why you go to church, you're going to have people stop going to church when they lose those things.
Yeah.
But when the reason why someone goes to church is Jesus, and it is literally being in the presence of Jesus Christ in the Eucharist, it's like that is a monumental why behind people coming to church.
Right.
So when I first started visiting Catholic Church, like the beauty was breathtaking.
Yes.
Especially on that pilgrimage. And now that I'm starting to come to understand what the liturgy actually represents and what it actually is in the Catholic Church, like every single second of the Mass is about bringing heaven to earth.
Mm-hmm.
I read a very interesting book by Scott Hahn.
Oh, Scott Hahn is good.
Scott Hahn is good.
He's like the Catholic author.
Okay.
Yes, like side note, Rome Sweet Home is one of my favorite books. But the book that I'm referencing now is called The Lamb's Supper.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about how the book of Revelation is played out in the Mass every single time. Because it's about the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. At the Passover, they killed the lamb, put the blood on the door, and the angel of death passed over, but they ate the lamb as well.
Mm-hmm.
At Passover, when the Jews celebrated Passover, Jesus was... So before Jesus came, they would celebrate the Passover, they would kill the lamb, and they would eat it. But they would do it like almost like one for every person, so it was hundreds and thousands of lambs, and they had to drain all the blood, and it was this disgusting like ritual that they did every year, and they would sacrifice hundreds and hundreds of thousands of these lambs every single year. Jesus is the atoning sacrifice for every single person's sin from the time that he died on the cross forever.
Mm-hmm.
So when we celebrate the Mass and we partake in the Eucharist and we are united with Christ, we are partaking in the Passover supper. Like we are eating the lamb that was slain for our sins.
I like that.
It's beautiful. It's an awesome book.
That's very well said.
I will say, as far as these churches go, though, I do agree the reason you should be going to church is to take in Jesus. But I think it's a good stepping stone for some people. Because, I mean, it's hard to get new people into the church. Someone who is agnostic or atheist, like, they want absolutely nothing to do with God. And if you tell them, like, hey, you're not just going to be in here, you're not going to have to kneel, we're coming to have a good time, and you might learn a little bit. I think it's a good stepping stone, a way to get people in through the door and like be a disciple. That's what Jonathan's church talks about a lot, is being a disciple and trying to get more people into the church and connecting with God. So I will say, I think that's a great part of it. But I do agree with what you're saying.
But
Can I?
Sorry.
No, you're good. After you.
I was gonna say, so the thing about that is, so like, I view it as like quantity versus quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, let's say, yeah, sure, there's a bunch of people that are Christian going to these churches for like, I've seen those huge mega churches give these all-day events, evangelizing. I'm not like trying to like shit on people's beliefs.
Yeah.
Some of those are different, though, because they feel like money-hungry
But
people.
they feel like
for
money-hungry
sure.
people. A lot of these pastors are money-hungry that live in $800,000-$900,000 homes.
Driving a new truck every year.
Exactly.
Private jet.
But the thing about the Catholic Church is that's why we have ministries.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the young men's ministry, you have women's ministries. So yeah, I think church should be about church.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it shouldn't be fun, but that shouldn't be the whole basis around it.
Well, I want to like ask you guys a question, because me and my fiance have been talking about this for a while. So the church right down the road is massive. Like you can see the cross from like miles down.
We
the
call
road.
it Six Flags Over Jesus.
Yeah, there's lots of like fun names for it.
That's
And,
a
like,
good description of it,
Yeah,
though.
it's you know I think like I know a lot of people who go there. The pastor gives like really great sermons, but they do some things that I've always questioned. And one of the things is during Christmas time they do, I think it's like songs of the season or something like that. And so they pretty much put on a concert. Like it is a concert. You're sitting down and you're admiring music. Like
Mm-hmm.
and it's your classic Christmas carols. Like I'm pretty sure all of them are rooted in Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, I think there's some sense of, I mean, a reason the church like that gets so big is because you have massive donors. But how do you keep those donors coming to you? You put on some sort of show like that that they want to come back. Because if you don't do that, they're going to go to another church that's doing that, right? So there's this weird dichotomy of you have to put on a show, you have to put on some performance for them to come, because you as a church know that they're probably not coming just for Jesus. Like how Elliot explained it, that's not how everyone's coming. They're like, I want to be a part of a church, but I also want to take something from it. And that taking something from it isn't just learning more about Jesus and becoming a disciple.
I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that specifically, because if you're holding these concerts, if it's not all the time, like it doesn't, like, especially for Christmas. Yeah, like a lot of these deeply rooted Christian Christmas songs are about it. It's about celebrating God's birth and or Jesus' birth. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I just think if it's overplayed and it's done all the time, like that was a perfect example. Six Flags Over Jesus. They do it all the time, I think, because I've been personally to they throw these massive carnivals. Yeah.
They always have events.
Tens of thousands of people go to, even for the 4th of July. Yeah. They have dozens of food trucks, tons of activities, which I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I feel like it's overplayed there.
It's he's saying it's for the big donors. I think that makes that makes a lot of sense. But in a Catholic church, like, you may have some big donors in there, but realistically, everyone's just giving just to give. Well, some of these churches are like, you have to give 20% for God to love you.
Those are
like.
So I have an interesting take on that. Yeah. So I think, and then to start, obviously, it's not every single Protestant church is like you have to give 20%.
Yes.
It's a very, very like small percentage. And there's a wide range of those Protestant churches. Yeah. The first thing you said was talking about the music.
Yeah.
And the concert. So I think that Christian music is good. Mm-hmm. I think that praise music at a Protestant church is good. Mm-hmm. Here's the distinction that has to be made. Is singing the song about Jesus in the church service and raising your hands, is that worship? Mm. Is that worship by the biblical definition? And a lot of people will say that it is. They'll go as far as to call it a worship service. Mm. But I don't think that we can rightly call that worship. And I think the reason is because worship involves sacrifice. Mm. And when there is no sacrifice present, there is no worship present. Mm. So don't get me wrong. I think that the Protestant church having these songs and having this music is good. I think that if all of the songs we listen to on Spotify and the radio were Christian music instead of the garbage, the slop that we have today that's being produced that like everyone listens to all the time that just talks about like violence
21
and sex
Savage
and drugs.
guy.
Yeah, no, exactly. Which I used to listen to all the time. So I'm not talking from like up here like looking down on people, like that's me.
Yeah.
But like if we only had Christian music instead of that, it would be a net positive on society.
Yeah.
But is it worship? I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the definition of worship?
So when he said like involving sacrifice and whatnot, like how he said like pre-Vatican II, right? Mm-hmm. Like I don't know if you've watched like Vikings or those old time.
Absolutely.
Like so, if you notice in the Catholic and the Christian churches when they would display, there were no pews. Mm-hmm. You would stand the entire time or you would kneel the entire time.
Yeah.
That was their definition of sacrifice. It wasn't supposed to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I don't mind sitting down and I don't mind doing like certain things, but that's how it was before. And that's worship. That's like he said, sacrificing something.
Yeah.
You're sacrificing comfortability.
Okay.
It's interesting in the Old Testament when the Israelites were about to flee Egypt and they were asking Pharaoh if Pharaoh would set them free. They said, Moses said to Pharaoh, let my people go so that they may go into the wilderness and worship God. Mm-hmm. Well, they went into the wilderness and made sacrifices to God. So you can just see from the very beginning that there is a very strong correlation between worship and sacrifice. Like they go hand in hand.
So what would you say the sacrifice is according to Catholic Church? Like what are you sacrificing? He said comfortability.
Yes.
Is that...
So, I mean, kind of, but the route I would take in talking about the Catholic Church specifically, I think maybe the Orthodox Church falls into this category as well. Okay. Maybe not. We could go into that. But when you go into the Catholic Church, you are partaking in the once and for all sacrifice of Jesus Christ on the cross. Because the body and the blood of Jesus Christ is literally present, and we can talk about that too, but it is present. The substance... Mm-hmm. Substance is what a thing is. Essence is our perception, accents are our perception of a thing. I'll say that again.
I would never know this.
Substance is what a thing is. Accents are our perception of a thing.
Okay.
So the accents, our perception of a thing, our perception of the body, or our perception of the bread and the wine remains the same, but the substance, what the thing is transformed. That's why it's called transubstantiation.
Interesting.
So we partake in the sacrifice of the Lamb at every Mass, and that's why it's worship. And I think the distinction there has to be made. The other thing you said, Jonathan, that was very interesting is they have the donors.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to keep your people coming back.
Yeah.
And it's not always big donors, because a lot of times you have a bunch of small families who give 10% of their paycheck, and that keeps the lights on, that pays the pastor, that pays for the new gym, that pays for the new parking lot. The problem is, and this was one of the biggest problems I saw within the Protestant church as a whole, because I stopped being a part of the Presbyterian church about when I was 18, and then I went to non-denominational churches, I went to Southern Baptist churches, and I saw the same patterns over and over and over again.
Okay.
You're running a church like it's a business.
Yep.
You need your members to keep the lights on. You need your members to make more members.
Yeah.
The status quo is how can we get more members, not how can we make more disciples.
So you're thinking more about the demand and the need for the
and it's not like that at every church.
Yeah.
It's not, but I want to hear.
I'm not even like, disagreeing with you, because I think it's such an interesting, obviously living in America, living in the United States, it's capitalist, so people are already business minded, right? And it's so interesting because I have this conversation with my fiance all the time. It's like we were like church hopping for a while, trying to figure out where to go, and the two biggest things that always stuck out to me were how you present what you do with the money that I give, and how you present your worship, because I always came from singing hymns. Like, I was very traditional in that, and so switching to the more like concert type of music, like, I really had to get a grip on and like accept that. And so ultimately I had conversations with probably every mentor that I have, like my father, my fiance's dad, Jason, who you were talking about, Isaiah, about tithing and like what that should look like. And so ultimately my conclusion to that was like, you give money to where you go, and that is out of your hand. What they do with that money is totally on them, but you are giving that money because you are sacrificially giving that for Jesus, and for like that is your tithe, right? And so obviously you want to be smart, you don't want to just like give it to someone random, but that's the difference between donating to charity and donating to your church, because you're giving it for Jesus. You're not giving it for whatever reason that the church has. And so what I always struggled with, I was like, oh man, my old church, they want to put up new cameras. Well, like, that's not why I want to give them money. Oh, they want to give the pastor a raise. That's not why. It's like, I was thinking about it all wrong. I was thinking me, versus the perception of, I need to give my money because that's what I'm called to do. I'm called to give that 10%. And ultimately, God placed the church here. That is Jesus's bride, and I need to trust that God has best intentions in mind. So I give my money sacrificially because I trust God. It's an interesting, and not everyone thinks like that. And so like bringing it all right back around, as a church, like I've thought, if I run a church, what would I do? And so I think that's a very interesting question to ask you guys. Like, what do you think a realistic biblical way to ask for tithes is? Like, do you think it's, because in my old church, my Presbyterian church, they would just play a song and they'd pass around a bowl. And like we'd say, like the pastor would say something about the offering and we would call back. But I haven't found like something I 100% agree with. Like the way that what I act on it, I agree with, but how churches present it, I still haven't found something that I 100% agree with.
So your church, the way I see they do it, like they tell you what specifically they're putting their money towards.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's like we want to open up more churches to be able to reach more people and stuff like that. But I think the way that they portray what they're putting the money towards is a little rough, and it seems a little bit pushy. But at a Catholic church, realistically, they might have one mass where they go over the fact that you should be giving 10%, but all we're doing is passing around a bowl and maybe talking about some events that are going on in the church.
Yeah, but what also helps the Catholic Church, I don't know if any other denomination has this, we have archdioceses. So there's like the Archdiocese of Atlanta, the Archdiocese of Detroit, and it's basically like Catholic headquarters, essentially. That a lot of funding for churches comes from the Archdiocese. Granted, I don't know where they get that money from. Because, dude, the Catholic Church and the Vatican and just the Pope in general, they have so much money. It's like whether they got it from holy wars
They're
back
digging it out of a
hundreds
hole,
of
dude.
years ago. Because if believe it or not, the Catholic Church is actually the largest landowner in the world.
That does not surprise me.
Like next to like a bunch of other billionaire, like Great Britain. I think Great Britain's the only other essential entity that has more land than the Catholic Church. Because you got to think about it, how many churches there are
But the Catholic Church
around the
owns
world, how
all
many
those.
Catholic schools there are around the world.
But the Catholic Church owns
The
all
Catholic
those?
Church owns
That's
all
so
of it.
That's
Interesting.
fascinating.
Because you got to think about it, they own a country.
Yeah.
Granted, it's the world's smallest
Yeah.
country, but it's still a country.
Country.
I mean, it's like, what, the size of Rhode Island or something?
I'm curious too. How many Catholics are there?
I think
Is it-
there's
it's more than a
1.2 billion, give or take. But realistically, how many of them are actually Catholic?
The Catholic Church owns 177 million acres of land
Wow.
around the
Yeah,
world.
Dude, that's insane.
They own quite a bit
Hype.
of land. But
Bro.
That's hype.
they say that there's 1.2 billion Catholics, I think, or something crazy like that.
Okay, so imagine 1.2 billion Catholics tithing 10% of their income.
Yeah.
Imagine how much money that is. That's
And
insane.
some people
And
give
it's
more, some
nowhere
people
near
give
that,
less.
though.
Right.
But like, imagine if everybody literally gave
Yeah.
10%. That would
Yeah.
be.
Well, even if like
Insane.
1%.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Gave like only $1. Like that's still like a crazy amount of money.
But there's a good podcast that makes you like go like,
The Gentleman's Table.
Gentleman's table.
Right here.
something
Right here.
something a little bit bigger than us, but I forgot what his name was. He's like that former Navy SEAL, CIA
Jocko Willink?
agent.
David Goggins?
No,
Leaf
Okay.
Babin.
no, I'd have to look it up. But he does.
Start naming a bunch of people.
I'd have to look it up, but he interviews a Catholic priest that is one of 4 exorcists in the country. He works for the Archdiocese
You're
of
talking about
Nashville.
Sean Ryan?
Yes,
Yeah.
Sean Ryan. Yeah, that podcast makes you go, oh shit, this is real.
Yeah.
Wait, what about it makes you go?
So basically the context, long story short, I didn't get to watch all of it because it's like 2.5 hours. But because my cousin's a born again Catholic, like he fell away from the Catholic Church and now he's back into it.
That's awesome.
And preaching what he does. Like he walks the walk and he talks the talk. Which one is it? You got to look up
Okay.
Catholic priest anyway. But he wasn't raised Catholic. This priest, and he went to Catholic school and he ended up getting sexually assaulted by a priest.
Wow.
And so he fell away. He worked at Wall Street, and he was doing that for 20 years. And then, for some reason, I forgot what the context was behind it, but he went to confession for like the first time in like 20 years. So if you know what confession is
I
for
do.
the Catholics, okay, so just for the viewers,
Mm-hmm.
the confession is you're in this little box essentially, or you're in another room talking about your sins and being absolved from your sins by the priest. And he'll give you acts of contrition and like repentance, like, hey, read up on this, and he'll give you stuff to atone for it essentially. That's
Pray
just
the rosemary. Like,
exactly. You were about to say rosemary. But anyway,
Cook up some
this
fire.
priest, this priest,
I've been praying that rosemary all the time.
Dude, every night before bed, I pray the
Pray the
rosemary.
rosemary, dude. My bad, the rosary. I'm stupid, bro.
but anyway, this priest told the guy, he was like, hey, you would make a really good priest. And the guy was like shocked. He's like, dude, I haven't been a part of the Catholic Church in 20 plus years. How did you get that from me? And he's like, dude, I think it's just your calling.
Oh, wow.
So he started to dabble. He returned to the Catholic Church, became a priest, and then he ended up being one of 4 exorcists in the country. Wow. And it talks like deep into depth about stuff that he's seen and stuff that he's done for these people. It makes you realize, like, wow, this stuff.
How do you become an exorcist?
This is real. It was kind of like he was at the right place, the right time.
Yeah.
So he was working at the Archdiocese of Nashville, and he was under one of the exorcists. And I think he might have died or he retired, but he was working with this guy, so he would be going to all these exorcisms. So the Archdiocese of Nashville kept getting calls like, hey, where is this guy? We need him. And the Archdiocese are like, why are we getting so many phone calls for you? And he's like, why aren't you going out there and doing this? And he's like, well, you never gave me explicit permission to solely perform exorcisms. And the Archdiocese of Nashville was like, well, you're the guy now.
That's interesting.
And it goes deep into the Catholic faith and what it means to be Catholic. And he's not super reverend. Like he will give you like no bullshit.
Yeah.
Kind of like how I am. Like he'll swear and stuff. And I'm not saying that's like correct, but he'll give you he'll give you like a PG-13 version.
I've seen stuff like that.
He'll give you the adulterated version of what it means to be Catholic. He's not sugarcoating it. He's not like telling you what you want to hear. He's telling you real unfiltered information about what it means to be Catholic and how it feels to be a part of the Catholic Church.
Interesting. I kind of want to listen to that.
Even if you aren't Catholic, it's still a really good watch.
Yeah. Wow, that's so interesting. I think there's so much stuff just rooted in Christianity, like whether you're Protestant or Catholic, that I think like there's just so many good teachings in it. So like Carter and I were yapping a little bit before the podcast, and we were talking about like the morals and like the teachings of Christianity, whether it's in, Protestant churches or Catholic churches, and how that is a like segue to get people into church. So like I know earlier we were talking about how putting on shows or putting on events is a good segue to get people in. And then like if you have music, once again, it's a good segue to get people in. But I think a completely different version of that is just teaching them biblical teachings. So you're teaching them biblical teachings not under the pretense that it's from the Bible, but just that this will help your life. So like how to lead yourself, how to develop yourself.
Exactly. Like with the Catholic Church, and it should be just for all churches in general, you gotta be there for the right reasons because you're called to do it.
Absolutely.
And it should be your faith to go to church. All the other ministries, it brings people together, yes. Like my church has trivia night, or it has like cookouts or something like that. But it's not the main discussion topic.
Yeah.
It's why you should be at church is to praise and worship God.
So I think with the Catholic Church, you have all those events and stuff like that, and that's where people come to be in fellowship. Like
exactly.
But you do go to Mass to be with Jesus.
Yes.
And be in the house of God.
Had you finished your thought, Jonathan?
A little bit, but I want to ask you a question on that because I think I agree with you, but I want to make sure. So what about someone who, let's say, just for the easiness of it, is an atheist, and they come to church? They're not coming to church to worship and to expect, but I would assume you still want them to come to church so they can find the way. So what's your thoughts on that? Because what you said previously was people come to church to worship, like that's the sole reason, but people can also come to learn about that.
Kind of like what he was saying was there's a lot of atheists or agnostic people that just think they're right and they're too stubborn to find the truth. Right? I've never been personally in that situation where I talk to an atheist or an agnostic person and say, hey, you should try the Catholic Church. That's not really necessarily how I would do it. I would slowly, like, I wouldn't shove it down their throats. In all honesty, in my opinion, like that video that I mentioned, I would tell someone to watch that and tell me what you think. Because I'm telling you, this is probably the best video about Catholicism that I have ever watched.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to give it a watch. Oh, I think, Jonathan, to your question, one thing that I guess you have to ask before you can even answer that is what is church? Because you're saying, okay, so the atheist should come into church so that he can know the biblical principles.
Yeah.
Well, okay, is that he should go to a place or an event and participate so that he can learn? Or is that so that he can be a part of the living body of Christ here on earth? Because I think there's a difference. But what do you feel like, I guess, church is?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, I think this verse gets like misquoted a lot because I do think there's some controversy behind it, but it's where two or more gather. So I think like if you and me were to gather with an atheist, I think that would be church because you are like, God is present, like the Holy Spirit is present within us, right? And so if we're talking to them, then like I literally had it pulled up a second ago, but it's where two or more gather in the presence of God, right? So if we are preaching the morals or the teachings of the Bible, whether it's Catholic or Protestant, like it is still the Bible, and the teachings are inherently good, like they are inherently helpful. I think that could be displayed as church. But I also think a good stepping stone would be like the Protestant church, the Catholic Church. I think it would be not smart for someone to say like, you can't come here yet, you're not ready. Right. I think that's showing them the doors. And I don't think
Right.
Jesus would have ever done that. And I'm a big advocate of, living like Jesus.
And
Like if you're
welcoming
confused,
people.
yeah,
Yeah.
just welcome people. So I think there's like, in an ideal world, there's stepping stones to getting them to church. Like probably just putting them in Catholic Mass isn't the best way to just convert them. However, I do think if that's what they're willing to do as the first step, I think it's a great first step.
Interesting. Could I push back on that just a
Absolutely.
little bit? Okay, cool.
Let's
cool.
hear it.
Because I used to 100% agree with what you just said, where two or more are gathered, I am there, and when God is there, that is church. So when I have the Bible study at my house and we pray and the Holy Spirit is there and we're reading the Bible, this is church.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's true.
Interesting.
I think that God is 100% present.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we are 100% studying his living word.
Yeah.
We are growing and the Spirit is moving. But is that church? What makes church? Is
Worship.
Is any time
There's a
that's
bunch of different
so
factors
is
to it.
is any point where God's presence is there? Is that point? Is that what church is? Or is church a very specific group of people? Because when Paul was on his ministry and he was establishing the church, he went city to city. And when he left a city, he left one person in charge of that city. And he left several people under that person. They were called bishops. And the bishops had their elders, and they had a structure. So when he was discipling people, he wrote letters to the churches. The church was a very specific hierarchy. If we even go back, and I'll tie this back around, if we even go back to the Old Testament, the first example of that form of structure, of government structure, is when the Israelites came out of Egypt. When they came out of Egypt, something like 200,000 people, or 200,000 to 2 million people,
Yeah.
in the desert with no food and no water. And one guy named Moses has to figure out how to logistically lead all of these people.
Strike the stone.
Exactly.
I
So
didn't
it's
say
like,
strike the stone.
dude, it's actually insane. Because have any of you guys been camping before?
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine like hiking for miles.
Yeah.
Okay, and now imagine anyone who's ever run a business or run a team, and how hard it is just to move like 10 people and get them to move towards a goal and listen.
Yeah.
So imagine it's 2 million. So what do you do in that situation? Well,
That's crazy.
what did he do? Well, he split them up into groups of 10.
Yeah.
And every group of 10 had a leader. And then groups of 100. Every group of 100 had a leader. And then 1,000, and then 10,000, and then so on, all the way up to the number. And Moses was at the top, and above Moses was God.
Yeah.
That is the structure of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
God speaks through the head of the church, which is Peter. And
Yeah.
Peter is the voice of Peter, the vector of Peter is the Pope. And the Pope has his bishops. And the bishops have their priest. And it's a structure, and we see that structure from Acts, and we see it in the New Testament. We see it when Jesus in John chapter 20 or 21, I forget, gives his disciples, he says, if you forgive someone's sins, they will be forgiven. If you do not forgive their sins, they will not be forgiven.
Yeah.
He gives them the authority. So I think that having the Bible without the church as a structure is like having the Constitution without having a government.
So would you say there has to be an ordained priest present for it to be church, or you're saying the physical building structure of the church?
I think
Because technically, from what you're saying and what I'm getting is like there can be a group of maybe 3 people, and as long as they have a leader and someone to lead them who leads them to the church, then you are in church.
So
I guess.
God calls everyone to make disciples. And he
Right.
calls everyone to minister to people. And he even calls everyone to baptize people. He says, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teach them to obey everything that I have commanded. And surely I am with you to the end of the age. So I think every single person at any time should minister to people and should bring people to Christ.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that there's just a difference between, like, you can minister to people, you can spread the word, you can disciple somebody without bringing them to church with you. And I think you can visit a church
Yeah.
without being a part of a church. And I think being a part of the church is being
Yeah.
a part of the body.
Yeah. I agree.
So what I was going to ask you to look up. So this comes to the structure of the Catholic Church. I think there's actually a set amount of things that the Catholics consider it to actually be mass and like be church. I think there has to be an altar. I think there has to be a tabernacle. I think there has to be a priest. I don't know if there's any more than that, but I'm pretty sure those are like the top 3 things that make it actually church.
Okay.
So look that up real quick. But I just want to give a shout out to our guest, Elliot. You are a very eloquent speaker.
Thank you.
You definitely know what you're talking about. And in the short time that I've been a Catholic my whole life, you know.
Oh, he knows 100 times more than me.
Infinitely more
It's
than I
insane.
do. And that's why I love new and growing Catholics. Because people that were born into it have that self-entitlement of being Catholic. They say they're Catholic, but realistically, how many people can actually say that they practice what they preach?
Right.
Like me and you, for example. Like, we say we're Catholic.
I mean,
we
you
go,
can ask me multiple questions and I won't be able to answer
We
them.
go to
I'm
church,
gonna be
and
honest.
there's probably 9 out of 10 times there's the questions that he could answer that we couldn't.
Yes.
And like I've been a Catholic, like I said, I've been a Catholic for 25 years of my life. And he probably knows a lot more than I do because he is interested in it. He is invested in it. He is growing into it. He wasn't born into it, but he was grown into it. And that's why I love the people that are coming into the Catholic Church, because they actually preach.
Like sparks a new thing in your heart.
It does, man.
Yeah.
It does. Like when my cousin Jared was talking to me about it, because, I grew up with him. He's like my older brother. We look exactly alike and everything. Like, I looked up to him a lot. And when he was telling me, hey, you should go back to church. You should start going back to Bible study. You should, not necessarily change your life, but you should practice what you did before growing up, because it's a big difference when you were a kid versus you're an adult, because you don't really take it in as much when you're a kid versus when you actually have your
you don't
own
have a choice.
And you also
most
don't
of the
have a
time.
choice, because up until the point that you're confirmed in the Catholic Church, you don't really have a choice. Like, your parents are taking you to church. Your parents they're forcing you.
There were some times where I was like, no, I want to stay in bed, and my parents were like,
no,
come
like
on.
you're going to church. You're
Yeah.
going to catechism.
Which
No,
I'm thankful for.
100%, which I'm thankful for, because
Yeah.
I have a lot of, I'm not saying I know as much as he does, but I have a lot of experience, and I've met a lot of good friends along the way. And
Were you done?
No, I'm good. I was just kind of rambling.
Okay. I think because what you were saying is absolutely true. I love the idea of a 8-year-old laying in bed and your parents no, you're coming to church, right? Because I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's the morals and the teachings that you're getting at church is not just some religion thing that you're going to forget and choose whether or not you want to follow when you're 18. It's teachings that are going to help you throughout your entire life be a better person.
No, yeah, 100%. And a part of being a Catholic and just I think being a Christian altogether is the man of the household. Is his responsibility is to bring his family to God.
Yeah.
So, segueing into this to keep it more on the gentleman space, how do we feel about Christianity being the USA was based on Christianity, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we feel about Christianity and morals connecting? So you have other people following other religions, and obviously it's going to create different moral beliefs in different parts of the world. How do you feel Christianity and good morals and all of that connects?
I think
that is a really, really good question, and I think that it's perfect because that seems like it was the question that you were tiptoeing around before.
Yes, exactly.
Which is, okay, there's an atheist, and the atheist does not have Christian morals. He does not have good morals. He has hedonistic chase after pleasure. There is no God. I'm on a floating rock in space. I should go do whatever the hell I want to do all the time, because life is an accident. Nothing matters, and I can do whatever I want. But that's what nihilism is.
It's such a sad reality.
It's a sad reality. So your question was, how do we share the morals with that person?
Yeah.
And I think that all churches, I think that Protestant churches, I think that inviting someone to Bible study and ministering to people, everyone, is good. It is an objective good. So to just put that in a nice bow.
Oh, absolutely.
To jump into your question, Western civilization was built on Christian morals. It was built on the morality and the teachings of Jesus Christ. Christianity affirms that Jesus Christ is God, and Jesus Christ is God's Son. And everything that Jesus said is true because he is the truth. And it was out of the thousands of years of this belief that Western civilization was born.
Mm-hmm.
The writers, the poetry, the art, the Renaissance, like the architecture. Beauty flourishes and pours out from the spring of truth. When you have a strong foundation, a strong doctrine, you have truth, you have good morals, you have a society that loves their neighbor, that respects one another, you build prosperity. But when you get rid of those things, when you rug pull the truth, when you rug pull morality, society crumbles because the foundation is gone. There's a saying. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
Mm-hmm.
This pattern repeats itself on a large scale throughout hundreds and thousands of years, and a shorter scale as well. On the generational scale, we are in the phase of weak men creating hard times, and I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
I think that our generation is about to go through some hard times.
Yeah.
And I think that on the other side of those hard times, we are going to see a rebirth of Christian morality. We already see it in the revival and people moving back towards the truth.
Yeah.
And all that to say, Christianity is essential to morality, and it's essential to the civilization that we had and that we may hope to have again.
I like that.
Damn, you could be a priest, dude. You could be a priest.
I can't because I'm going to have a wife and kids one day.
Heck yeah.
And if that's your calling, man, that's your calling. Because my mom's always told me, or my grandma's always told me, you should be a priest with a strong Catholic name like Anthony Joseph.
You definitely can't be a
I
priest.
can most definitely. Hey, never say never. Never say never.
kidding,
Saint Augustine was a party animal, man.
He was.
He was as far away as Catholic gets.
I'm just playing
And
with you,
his
dude.
mother was Saint Monica. So he was born into that, but he was he was a party animal. Like he was like this modern.
When I'm talking about morals and like that being better for society as a whole, I also mean like as a person, when someone takes on Christianity and the values of Christianity, they feel better, they do better in life, they're more successful in relationships, more successful in, their career, and just more whole as a person.
That's why we got the Ten Commandments.
Well, yeah, so that's more what I mean when I say Christian values and Christian morals just make you a better person and in whole make society better.
That's a good point because society is just made up of individuals.
Yeah.
Or it's made up of individual communities, which is made up of
made up of-
individual families, which is made up of individuals.
Yeah. And just like love thy neighbor. That's the one thing you can do as a Christian that will build a better society.
And plus, that's also just being a good person. Too.
Exactly. But most of these, I know people who don't believe in God and are atheist, and they are good people. But a lot of these people, they just, like you said, they just don't care. Life is just a mistake, and they want to do whatever they want, which means they don't care about if they do something to their neighbor or anything like that, or do anything bad.
I think do y'all know what the law of reciprocation is?
Yes.
To an extent? So it's basically if I were to give Anthony a present, in some way, shape, or form, Anthony would want to give me something in return. And so when you talk about leadership, a lot of times you say servant leadership. But it's actually relatively redundant because being a leader is being a servant.
Well, yeah, to be a good leader, you have to be a good servant first,
exactly.
and that's exactly what Jesus did.
Well, and that's why, to Carter's point, when you practice these morals, you feel good. Because when you are serving others, it is inherently good, and they are inherently wanting to serve either you or someone else back. Elliot and I, who work at Chick-fil-A, it's our motto. It is.
I thought it was my pleasure.
Right?
I do not like you right now.
But our motto is.
Yes, our motto is the fact that we serve others in such a caring and compassionate way, then we will be compelled to serve our guests in the same manner, right? And so anyone who comes to the doors, because we strive so hard to serve each other in every act that we get, when you come through the door, we genuinely want to serve you. And it's because we're being served by everyone around us. And that's like the philosophy of like the greatest leader there ever was, which is Jesus.
That's why
he
Chick-fil-A
led
is
with
the
service.
greatest restaurant chain in the world.
But I just wanted to put that out there because I think it's like ultimately like servant leadership, which is redundant. So leadership just in general, that service heart is probably one of the greatest morals that you can push through like the teachings of the Bible.
No, most
Yeah,
definitely.
I think Christianity is just like the best therapy. Gets you out of depression. It makes other people want to be more around you. I don't know. What's your take on that?
So I think absolutely. I think that I liked what you said about the law of reciprocation.
Yeah.
It's very important. I think that when we show love to other people are inclined to show love to us and to other people. Arrogance triggers arrogance. Pride triggers pride. Ego triggers ego. But humility triggers humility. Love triggers love. Joy triggers joy. Iron sharpens iron. Brothers are meant to sharpen each other. They're meant to drive each other towards a good. And when you have a group or a culture or a society that is showing hate or showing ego or pride, that is going to snowball effect. It's going to lead to whatever group, whatever culture, whatever society continuing to hate. And they only grow in their hate. They only grow in their anger. They only grow in their pride. And that is a downward spiral that comes from pride.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson says that we as people either create heaven or hell in our own lives depending on our own actions. What that means is that if I live life with an abundance mindset, if I live life focused on God and the highest good, and I pour love to everybody that I interact with, I serve people, I'm humble, then people are going to reciprocate that. My life is going to be a reflection of that love, of that humility, of that service. And now my life is an upward spiral.
Yeah.
And when you have a culture of people who are all doing this, you have a culture who's on an upward spiral. You have heaven on earth. This is the kingdom of heaven, to love God and love your neighbor. So I think that the most essential thing for this world, for communities, for cultures, for businesses, for individuals, for families, is to serve, is to love, is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Because when you have that, you are literally creating heaven on earth. And it is out, because we talk about morals. What did Jesus teach? He taught this. When we do this, life gets better. When we live in the present, life is better. When our minds are focused on the past, we become depressed. But when our minds are focused on the future, we become anxious. But when our minds are focused on the now, we can love, we can serve, we can be humble because we are here.
Yeah. That's very well said.
Be still and know that I am God.
Yeah. I love that. Do y'all know much about Solomon in the Bible?
Yeah.
So Solomon it's not proven, but he's like the credited author of Ecclesiastes. And Ecclesiastes goes over how there's basically nothing matters. Like everything is smoke, everything is vanity, right? And so the Solomon was like the wealthiest, the wisest. Like he had everything a man could ever want, right? And he tried every single thing he could. Like he wanted to try like wine. So what did he do? He opened like a vineyard where a bottle of wine, like to nowadays currency, was around like $20,000. And that was just a vineyard that he decided to just open up off of a rare strand of curiosity.
Isn't he the guy that had like
700 concubines?
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I thought.
To be fair, the Bible, there's times where things are often believed in transcribing the Bible to English or to other languages that things were exaggerated. So there's thoughts that may actually be 70 instead of 700.
Okay,
but
70 is still quite a bit.
It's still a lot. But my point with saying all that is what Solomon did was a human exercise that everything that you can search of in pleasures will always lead you down the wrong way, will always leave you with a uneasy feeling and a negative mindset. However, if you chase God and you chase service, that will always push you in the right direction. And so Solomon's entire life should be a testament to all of us living here on earth that living in service is the absolute way to live, because the people who are chasing the money, that chase the bag, and that's all they care about with the wrong intentions, are always going to fall short of what they want. And if we don't learn from the people like Solomon, then you're just going to have to learn that in your own life. And, especially for us who are all very young, it's so important at an early age to understand that chasing the wrong things will always leave you with that uneasy feeling, versus that servant leadership, which is redundant, and at the end of the day, it's the way to live. Like, that is how you be happy.
You also feel like really good after like you do acts of service and stuff. I'm not saying that's the reason you do it.
You do.
But you do, like, whenever, like...
Well, but why not let that be the reason?
It's a
great reason.
It's a good reason, but, like, I feel like, I don't know, if some people do it just to make themselves feel good and not do it for the reason behind it, I think that can get kind of shallow and get kind of selfish.
I feel like it'd be really hard to do that, though. It'd be really hard to go...
Some people get like an adrenaline rush. They'd be like, they sit on their high horse and be like, oh, I just did something really good. Not thinking like, hey, I'm not doing it for that reason. I should be doing it for like why I should be actually doing it. Like Feed Haiti at our church, for example. Like, so I've known personally people just either do it for the volunteer hours or they do it because it makes themselves feel good.
So that's a really, really good point, Anthony. That's actually super, super good. So what you guys are dancing on is the why that drives a man.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
What drives a man? What is our why? Why do we live? Why do we get out of bed in the morning? Why do we give? Why do we serve at this charity? Why do we do the things that we do? Is it because we're insecure and we want to feel better about ourselves and we want to show everybody that, hey, look, I'm doing this. Look at me. Let me post on my Instagram. I'm giving to this charity. I'm volunteering my time. Hey, everyone, look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm prideful and I'm arrogant because I'm insecure on the inside. And I need this to feel better about myself, to try to fill the empty hole that's in my heart. But it never works. This is why when a lot of times Christians will say, well, Jesus is my why, and leave it at that and not know what it means.
Yeah.
A lot of times someone who's not a Christian will hear a Christian say Jesus is my why, and they'll scoff because they also don't know what it means. And they see that the Christian saying it doesn't know what they mean.
Yeah.
Everyone is driven by something. Every single man is driven by something. That something is not always the same thing. That something sometimes changes.
Right.
But at every point in time, there's always something that drives us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. Well, I think it's just a little bit different when you're saying I'm doing it just for me and they're posting on social media and they're getting attention out of it is a little bit different to feel good that way through the approval from others. But if you're doing it just based on the sole reason, I feel good helping others. You're not going around bragging about helping others. I feel like it's not that bad. But if you're doing it for volunteer hours and you're like, I just have to do this, and then at the end you're like, I feel good, it's a little bit different. What I'm saying is, if you're going to go do volunteer work and you feel good about it, you shouldn't take that as a bad thing. You should be like, okay, I want to go do this instead of drinking tonight because I'm going to feel good doing both, so why not feel good doing this? But if you're going, I'm going to go drink tonight and post on my story and everyone's going to see it and I'm going to feel good because I get attention, or I'm going to go do a volunteer thing and post on my story because everyone's going to love me, I'm going to get attention, I think both of those are bad.
I see what you're trying to say. I get what you're saying.
I'm not portraying it very well.
Not what you're trying to say. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to get at is, like, when you do volunteer work at the church, it shouldn't, in my personal opinion, it shouldn't be, because even if it does make you feel good, even if you're not bragging about it or posting about it or anything, I don't think that should be the reason why you do
Yeah.
it.
I don't think it should be, but at the same time, it's like you're still helping others.
No, you're still helping
So-
others, yes, but that should be the reason why.
It could
Yeah.
be an inconsequential side effect.
Yeah.
Like if your reason why is to serve Jesus, but you feel good afterwards, there's nothing wrong.
No, there's
with
nothing
that.
wrong with that, but I'm just saying, like, the soul,
Yes,
like,
I
that's
agree.
like your sole purpose. Is
Yeah.
like, I want to feel good. It's
Yeah.
like, let's do anything to make me feel good. Like what he was talking about,
Yeah.
is that people were filling the void.
So this is such an interesting segue because throughout this entire week I've had multiple conversations about this topic, so I'm very interested to get y'all's opinions. So it's the idea of selfishness versus selflessness. So there's this idea of like a noble man who puts his family and his kids first and is always serving them, but then he has no time for himself. And so I'm sure you've all heard like the analogy of like you can't pour from an empty cup, right? And so you have to fill your own cup. You have to work on yourself to be able to fill others' cups, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be time allotted away for yourself to develop yourself so you can fill your cup. But at what point does it become selfish versus selfless? Because you need to work on yourself to be able to help others, but you also need to be able to, like, you are drawn to help others. So if you only had to choose one thing, it's a crazy dichotomy because you want to help yourself, you want to serve yourself, but that's selfish. So you have to allot your time wisely to be able to serve others.
That's tough because I think it's like a case by case thing because not everyone needs the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I think he could give you a better answer than I could, just because he's so eloquently fluent with it. But what I'm understanding that you're saying is that where do you draw the line between choosing yourself versus choosing others?
Yeah, or more so when.
When,
So
okay.
I had one of our mentors, Jason, at work. He talks about how, because he's got 4 kids and a wife, and they are all fantastic. I love each and every
He's
one
so
of them.
old.
So old.
He's like, oh, he's 33. He's so old.
So old.
Shout out, Jason.
But he was.
Sorry.
Wait, hit me with the other one.
That's not the right one at all. You
Hit me with the other one.
Here, do you want redemption?
Yes.
yes, come on.
So one of the great things that Jason was talking to me about is he allots time. So it's like an hour in the morning to read, and then when he gets home, it's like 45 minutes to exercise. That time cannot be taken from him. So he has a very loving and faithful wife who is also amazing, and she is very good at helping him make sure that he gets that time because you can't step away from that time. But once he is done with that, it is service and it is family time, right? Because he's protected the time to fill his cup, so now he can be a dad and pour from his cup.
Well, go ahead.
I think that the best example of what you just said was, of course, Jesus while he was here. Because who served more than Jesus? Nobody. Who gave more time away than Jesus? Nobody.
Yep.
But what did Jesus do? Jesus woke up every single morning before everyone else and went in solitude, in prayer with the Father.
Yep.
Jesus went and fasted for 40 days in the wilderness by himself before he started his ministry. Jesus did not pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
But Jesus was disciplined enough to give himself the time so that he could reset himself, be in the right mind, be in the right state, so that he could pour into other people. Exactly what you were talking about with Jason.
See, I told you.
And it's but it's like, yeah, well, I want to serve other people, but you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
But I slept till 10:30 today,
Right.
And I stayed up till 3 in the morning
Yeah.
playing Fortnite.
But on the other side of that, it's like, yeah, I wanna serve other people, but like I have to go to the gym. And you're using this mindset of, oh, I want to do this, but I can't pour from an empty cup. It's very similar to what you're saying.
It's scarcity versus abundance.
Yes, exactly. It's so interesting. Or you get because I think in our society, the noble dad is the one who serves their kids, and they always put their kids first. So instead of coming home and protecting that time that they have to use to develop themselves, they go right towards cooking or right towards, and throughout all of society, that person is looked very high up upon. And they're like, wow, you're so great. You serve your family so well. But his cup is continually getting more empty, and he's not able to sustain that time to fill his cup.
But I also think that comes into play with a happy and healthy marriage.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I think you have
wife-
to have a good wife and a good partner
Absolutely.
in order to make that happen.
Well, and that's why I credited Jason's wife so much, because she does an incredible job from what I've heard. Obviously, I don't live with them, but that she will protect his time. Like, if she is like, I need to go, or if he's like, I need to go to the gym, she will be like, yes, go to the gym. Or if he's like, I'm not going to go to the gym, she'll push him to go to the gym. Like, it is an incredible relationship that I think all men should have, because that is what pushes you to fill your cup.
And I think that's one thing that young men our age struggle with.
Absolutely.
Is trying to find someone compatible to meet those expectations. Because there are a lot of females out there that want this, want that, but they don't want... I understand that they want to give, but they're giving for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I like the Catholic Church so much, is because a lot of the foundation is based off of the unity of marriage.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's definitely a segue here, but were you done with all of your thoughts on that topic?
I wanted y'all's thoughts on that, so I put everything out there that I wanted to talk about, but it's just such an interesting concept of where you draw the line, when you draw the line, how you draw the line.
Yeah, and I also think like I said, I think it's a case-by-case thing, because like I said, not everyone needs the same things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like he might need different things than I do, or
Yeah.
you might need different things than I do, or
Yeah.
you might be willing to give different things than I am.
Yeah.
Stuff. I think it comes down to the fact of your own personal preference and what whoever you're living with or raising a family with, they help you realize and help you grow in that matter.
Absolutely. I love that. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I think yes and no, depending on what you're looking for.
Okay.
Because every man needs love. Every man needs
Yes.
a safe space where he can go.
Yes, I
every
agree.
man needs that person who respects his time, respects his space, who helps him, who is a giver of energy and is a giver of life and a giver of love. But you're right that looks different for different people. But I guess the segue is like, that's extremely hard to find in today's society. Extremely hard.
Yeah. We touched on this a little bit in the last podcast.
We did.
And I'm very interested, because I don't think we actually dove fully into it. So I think it'd be like a very interesting, just getting all of our opinions on.
We talked about what we would be looking for in a wife,
Yeah.
and a mother of our children.
Yeah.
That was what we mainly talked about.
And-
So, Elliot, we were saying, like, I think I said I wanted someone who would be supportive of whatever I'm doing, someone who has the same energy as me, is able to keep up with that, and someone who I would want to mother my children. But, like y'all are saying, we didn't dive into the fact of why it is hard to find someone like that in this day and age. Or is it hard to find someone like that in this day and age? I obviously think it is, but what are the reasons behind that, you think?
I got one reason.
I've got a lot of reasons.
Let's hear it.
I got
Let's
one.
hear it.
I think a lot of it has to do with social media. I really do. The social media is a blessing. The internet is a blessing. But it can also be the greatest hindrance as well.
Yeah.
I myself suffer with that problem too, of just doom scrolling and being on social media. And like, obviously I use it for the good too, like this podcast, my clothing company, by Prodigy, other things
Cutting
like that. No! But I think a lot of it actually does have to do with social media.
Yeah. Well, and what do you think the root of that is? Because I think social media is a great blanket statement.
It
But
is.
dive deeper into that. What specifically about social media makes it harder to find the woman?
I think it's because social media portrays perfection.
Yes.
It
absolutely.
portrays stuff that you want to be. Like, let's say, like, Instagram models, bodybuilders. That's like, oh, that's what you want to look like. That's what you want. Healthy relationships of these social media influencers. That's how I want to be. That's what I want. If I don't have it, I don't want it.
Yeah.
And they take these super high standards that they see in social media and reflect it on their own lives, and they think that's the standard, when it's absolutely not.
Yeah.
So another way I feel like social media, like that's a good point, but I also feel like it's more of like a drug. It has that instant gratification of attention, so then you don't seek it in a spouse. That's the main reason, I think, is that all of these girls are posting on their Instagram, getting so many dudes to just pop on there and give them likes and attention, that they're not going to look for any real love or attention in a man or anything like that. I think that's a big part of it.
And a lot of it has to do, I think some of it has to do with, like, you know, the internet as well. When our parents were growing up, you know, there wasn't internet, there wasn't phones, so you actually had to go out and touch grass to socialize, right? But now you have, like, Xbox chats, Discord chats, social media, dating apps, so you don't necessarily have to go out and touch grass to meet new people, and that's where people... They go out and they're uncomfortable because they don't have to do it because, oh, I can just rely on social media, I can just rely on dating apps, I can just rely on all these other forms of communication other than just going out and socializing.
Do you guys think that social media is the cause or the symptom? Or the cause or a symptom?
I think it's the carrier, if that makes sense. It gives people a segue into the attention or the gratification. So it's like the transportation into the bad, I guess you could say. I don't think it's more of like a cause or anything. It's just the thing that people use to get attention or to just get what they want and see what they want.
I wonder what the cause is.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
There's been a lot of things that I've seen. I think one of the, like, you can take this route as many different routes.
We
as
can talk
you
about
want.
this for hours.
Yeah, exactly. One of the, and this may be a little bit off topic, so we can veer back, but one of the interesting things that I always see is you see like Gen Z, which I'm pretty sure are all Gen Z, the drinking age is going down, right? But so is like the singleness age that's going up. Like, and, you know, I think it's an interesting line to draw because, like, I'm by no means saying you need to drink to find somebody, but I think coherently, like, the side effects of that is you're having people go out to bars to drink to get more confident, and then they're asking each other out, they find relationships, and people aren't single. Versus now, and especially after COVID, people are locked away, they want to play their games, they want to have every like hit of dopamine they can get at the touch of their fingertips. I mean, with ChatGPT, that's a great a part of it is like you can literally know anything, learn anything, do anything, and just ask it, and it can help you get there. And I think because that we've become so prone to just staying at home and having those dopamine hits of whatever's around us versus going out and meeting new people is a big part of that.
So are you saying COVID's the cause, or?
Yep, that was exactly what I was saying.
I think that COVID was a multiplier.
Yeah, I think it was the beginning of the end.
I just love that because, like, I think that's
no,
just
Harambe's
another...
death was.
Jesus is coming. Harambe was the beginning of the end.
Dude, think about it. Ever since Harambe died, shit just started going downhill.
In Ohio.
They're saying 2026 is the new 2016. So.
All right.
No, but I just think that's another, like, symptom. I think we talk about causes. I think we talk about symptoms. I think if we want to use the word multiplier, I think social media is a multiplier, and I think COVID
It's
was
a
a
catalyst.
multiplier for sure.
Yeah, a catalyst. That's a good word for it.
Do you think guys don't want to date because the women don't meet the guy's standard? Like, okay, so Christian men don't want to date because there are too few women who meet the moral standard.
I think that has something to do with it.
I think that's a part of it, but I more think guys don't want to date just because... I mean, there obviously is good women out there.
Right.
Obviously. But I think guys don't want to date because they don't know where to go to find them.
Dude,
so
I was
like,
just about
like
to
he
ask
was
that.
saying, people think that the only way you can find anybody or meet anybody is going to a bar and drinking.
Yeah,
like a lot
dude,
of people
how
see
upside
that.
down is that?
Dude,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
exactly.
sorry. I'm not trying to find my wife at the club.
Oh, dude,
or
exactly.
anything
Well,
like
and I was
that.
like, literally, what
Don't even look
Bro
at
is
me. Don't even look at me like that.
right now.
Don't even look at me like
Bro has
that.
Did
find
you go to
multiple
PBR?
girls that might be his wife at bars.
Why are you outing me like that?
So
Cut the clip.
My bad. Sorry.
what do you guys think though, like, is the ideal place to find someone? Because what I was going off with that drinking tangent is just a funny parallel. I'm not saying it's a cause or effect, but realistically, I think people would say if you're a godly man, you want to find someone at church, and if you're a cultural man who's been shaped by our culture, then you're gonna find someone at the bar.
Right.
Obviously, like, the bar is not right, but is church right? Or where is the ideal place to find
So
someone?
if you're
The gym.
if you're hunting for elk, you go to where the elk are.
Yeah.
If you're trying to fish, you go to where the fish are.
All right, guys, we're doing hot
girls'
yoga.
Yes.
locker room.
no, but actually, like, if your standards for what you want your wife to look like are she is moral, she loves God, she's smart, she's beautiful, you go to church.
Yeah.
Like, you go to a place where you're going to find that person.
Yeah.
If your standards are, I want her to be hot and like want to have fun and drink, and then you go to the bar.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you care more about finding your wife and starting a family, you're not going to want to go to the bar to try to hook up, because you know that's. I mean, if you disagree,
I know people who say
I'm gonna
that.
play
and
devil's advocate on that one. I'll let you finish first before I continue what I say. But
well, I was just gonna say, I'm sure y'all do too, but I know people who preach the gospel in God, but they still try and hook up with girls at the bar.
Yes, that, yeah.
yeah.
So, how does that work? I don't.
I mean, it's 100% a pleasure-seeking thing. Like they're preaching what they know. That is their ego saying, "I want attention. I'm preaching this.
So,
I know it'll bring around the right people. However, I still want some. I'm gonna go out."
Yeah, but they're more preaching like, "Oh, I want a good girl who can relax,
Yeah.
who would like be a good mother of my children." But then they're like, "All right, boys, we're gonna go out to the bars and find hella bitches."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's actually real. Like, that's so real.
yeah, I
It
know
is.
multiple people, and I'm sure I've done that, bro. I definitely have done that. I am
Yeah.
no questions asked. I have done that.
Have I done
Anthony's
that?
done that.
Shout out.
But I don't know. It's a weird gray area. I
It's
guess.
lukewarm Christianity. It's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's like, you know what you should want, but you don't actually want it.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't want to take
You
the
don't
steps
know.
that it takes to get there.
I don't know. Me
Are we
personally,
speaking to you?
no. Hold on.
Oh,
I don't think there's anything wrong with having fun, but at the same time, I'm not going to church to knack on women.
That's right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a
I'm
very
not,
good point.
So he was saying, like, you want to go where the elk are, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want to go to church, but my sole purpose of, like, some people might take it as, like, hey, if you want to find a wife, go to church, and
Yeah.
their sole purpose of going to church is to find a wife.
Oh, man.
Which I'm not going to church to ask for women's phone numbers, because 90% of the time they're with their families.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm not going to just go up to some woman, like, with their family, hey, I think you could be a good wife. Can I take you out?
Yeah.
Well, and I
That's-
think that's bad too, because at a sense, if you like someone like yourself who's extremely outgoing, like I'm not gonna
Why?
blaze
Why?
you. We'll just say extremely outgoing. You're like, if you were doing that every day you're at church, eventually you're going to start making people uncomfortable, and they don't want to go there, and they're associating church with the
you.
guy who's asking me
Yeah.
out every
Yeah,
Sunday.
yeah,
yeah.
So there's definitely a balance there.
I don't know. There's like ministries, I guess. Like if
Yeah.
you want to go out and have fun, they have youth ministries that go out and do
Bible
stuff.
study.
Bible
Stuff
study.
like that.
That's
and
where I
like
was going.
one of my youth ministries, like they go out and do stuff. Like
Yeah.
they like whether they go to a brewery, it's like called Bibles and Brew and stuff. And like they just go out to They just go out. No, it's not to go out to get like trashed or anything. It's just a place like Reformation. That is such a good gathering to go
Yeah,
to
yeah,
just
yeah,
to
yeah.
socialize and meet new people.
Yeah.
There might be alcohol there, but that's not the sole reason as to why you're going. You're going
Yeah.
to fellowship. You're going to hang out with people. You're
Yeah.
going to meet new people. And I think that's why you should do it.
Well, and some people, though, I mean, the reason you just said is what we were talking about earlier is your why. Your why is to go there for the right reason. However, not everyone's why is to do that. Some people's why is to go to the brewery and get messed up.
I'm
or
sorry,
to go to
if
the
you're
brewery
going
and
to
meet
if you're going with
girls.
your
Yeah.
church friends to get trashed, you should not be
Look,
there.
man.
Well, when we were talking about earlier, your why about going to mass should be to go for Jesus
Yes.
and to be with Jesus. I don't think you should be, if you're saying I'm looking for a wife at church, you're just going to church to be with Jesus, and if anything happens, it happens. A lot of these
Yes.
guys are just going to the bar just to have fun, and if anything happens, happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think the environment is so important, but the why behind it is the most important. Like,
Yeah.
you go to church to be with Christ,
Yeah.
but if you want to find a godly wife, you put yourself in an environment where you can find a godly wife.
Yeah. You're not going hunting the elk.
Right, you're not.
just
you're
trying
not.
to be around
So
them.
yeah, that's the thing. It's
If an
like,
elk dies in front of
observing.
you.
you made a really good point. You're not just gonna go to mass and like ask girls for their number. Like, that's
Yeah.
weird.
That'd be very weird. Oh, it's that guy.
I got to start going to the 5 p.m.
Yeah. Shoot, he comes to every single mass.
hey, going to mass 3 times a day.
He's a
Sunday,
devoted
man.
hunter out here.
That's a Christian.
That's devotion right there.
If you have to knock 100 doors to get one sale, you knock 1,000 doors.
Dude, hey. Get in. Get in. Sorry.
I don't know. The priest might catch onto that.
Oh my
Be
goodness.
like, why is either he's got no time on his hand, or he has ulterior motives.
So, I mean, I think we've circled around the topic, but are y'all like fully in agreement that like church, obviously, I love the analogy, by the way, of like where you hunt, like where are the elk, they're going to be where so I think, is that the right place, or is it just embody yourself in like biblical religious activities and you will find someone? Like, what's your thought process?
I wouldn't
there?
say like devote yourself to religious and biblical activities. Like, I think like if you go with like-minded people that you met at church, it's like that's one thing. Like, you go play laser tag or mini putt-putt or something, it doesn't necessarily matter what you're doing. I think it matters who you're doing it with.
Yeah. I think using church as the example is the problem, like you were saying. Like, it depends on who you're with and what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, if you're doing stuff that's obviously not going to better you, like you're just going out to drink or hang out with your friends or just do stupid stuff, go do donuts in your car, like, you're not bettering yourself, and you're not going out with people who are also trying to better themselves. Like, if you're going to the gym, a gym is a great place to meet new people.
Yeah, it is.
Like, if you're going to church, the gym, any other place where like-minded people would be, I think that's more where you should be necessarily looking.
Yeah,
And
not
you're
necessarily
just
looking. Like,
putting yourself in the position to find someone.
Exactly. Like I said it for the church reference. I'm not going to the gym just to knack on women.
That's cap as well.
Okay, yes, so yes, my last girlfriend that I had, I met at the gym. Okay, but that's not the point. I'm going because I'm a bodybuilder. I go to the gym, I get my workout in, and if something happens, it happens.
So the reason he started going to the gym was
no, you want to no, you really no. You want to know the reason why I started to go to the gym was because of a woman.
Oh, I thought you were skinny, dude.
Not for the right reason.
You were skinny.
Exactly, but I'd always have like my girlfriend at the time in high school said, "Hey, you're really skinny."
Oh, damn.
And like, yeah, like, dude,
that sounds like a healthy relationship.
That was part of the reason.
He's not big now.
That was part of the reason why I started going to the gym. It wasn't necessarily for the right reasons, but I ended up finding the right reasons because at first I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for women.
Yeah.
And I was trying to like, okay, I'm going to the gym, I'm starting to get bigger, maybe more women will notice me. But then I started to realize I'm just getting compliments from dudes. Like, the only time I go to the gym, it's like,
Where the
man,
yoke are,
you're looking big, man. Good job. Like, you're not going. Then I started to realize, like, why am I doing this for women if women aren't like ogling over me or something like that? And then I started to realize I'm going to start doing this for myself. I don't care what they think. I'm going to do my thing and get out. And if something happens, it happens.
Well, I don't think it's a bad reason to start going though.
Yeah.
I think going to, like I said, you're putting yourself in a position where you could meet the right person. And if that turns into the fact of, oh, I love this, like the gym feels like a drug, which I know it does to you. And like it's a good hobby for you now, and now you don't care what anybody thinks, I think that's good. But I don't think the reason you went because all that happened was bad necessarily.
So Carter, I think you made a really, really good point when you were talking about the like environment that you put yourself in.
Yeah.
And I think that just as like you're a product of the 5 people you spend the most time with, you are a product of your environment.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing is you get to choose what your environment is. So when you are putting yourself in an environment, and we use the word church, but then again we had 2 different definitions. Is church the building where you do mass, or is church the body of Christ? If church is the body of Christ, well, guess what? That is like-minded people in like-minded environments.
Yeah.
So if you're going to hang out at the brewery with the body of Christ, if you're going to a Bible study, if you're going to hang out and play laser tag, like you said, like these are environments where you were going to be around like-minded people. So I think that as men, and especially as men who are pursuing God, and who all of us want to have a wife and family one day, it's like, well, that process starts now when we choose our environments.
Yeah, I agree.
I love what you said about the gym, because I think that poses a question that I was going to ask earlier, and so I think it's an interesting spot. But like you said, going to the gym for a girl isn't necessarily a bad way to get into the gym, because you're getting into the gym, right? So thoughts on taking gym out of that and putting church instead of gym?
Well, this is like I was saying
That's a
earlier.
good question.
Because me personally, like, after I got confirmed and I moved out, like, I didn't have a reason to go to church with my parents. So I just didn't go to church. I didn't read the Bible. I didn't even think about God, really. But I recently went to church with Jonathan, and that was a good foot in the door for me to, like, bring myself back to faith. And I'm still Catholic. I'm confirmed. I go to Catholic Mass with my parents.
What's your
every once in a while.
confirmation name?
I do not remember that. I do not remember. Like, no, but seriously, back then I was just doing it because my parents wanted me to.
What's a confirmation name for someone who's not Catholic?
You get a saint's name.
Okay, so you get a saint's name, but you get to choose your saint's name based off the Catholic life you're trying to live.
Oh.
Like off the teachings of the saint that you're trying to go by, right?
Okay.
I'll give anyone $1,000 right now if they can tell me who my...
I think you would have the best guess because
I don't
know many saints.
I don't even think you'd guess it.
I don't know the saints very well because I have a Protestant background.
Yeah, completely
but
fair.
I would say Saint Michael the Archangel.
See, that was a close one. That was like my third pick, but it's...
Third pick draft.
Yeah, he would have been my third pick, but no. You know what? You want to know what mine is?
What?
It's Juan Diego.
Oh, you've told me this.
Yeah.
I don't know who
Yeah.
that is.
So, do you know who Our Lady of Guadalupe is?
Yes.
So, that's the Juan Diego story.
Gotcha. Do you want to explain the Lady of Guadalupe?
Yeah, so the Lady of Guadalupe, just in layman's terms, is so there was this guy named Juan Diego, and there was this field of, I forgot what they're called, there's like a type of flower, and he'd always go there. And he saw Mother Mary, Our Lady of Guadalupe, and she told him something like, hey, build a church in this spot or something or the other. I don't really know the specifics of this story, but she appeared on his cloak, right? And that cloak is still in Mexico to this day, and that's one of the things that's like it doesn't decay. Like, it's been through a lot of stuff. Like, there was some kind of, like, not bombing, but there was some kind of attack on the building, and it still stood tall.
Okay.
So that's where the things that come into play, like there's certain things that are undisintegratable or whatever the word is, and Juan Diego's cloak happens to be one of them, and it was an appearance of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
So why'd you choose him?
Because I'm partially Hispanic, and I've and I never. So my Mexican side of the family is very whitewashed. Because when my family came from Mexico, they came to work in automotive industry, right? And a part of the automotive industry is learning the American way. So
especially working for GM.
Yeah, my great-grandfather was the type of guy that's like, hey, if you're in America, you speak English, right? So a lot of our traditions and our background kind of got washed away from generation to generation. And I was kind of I'm not saying I picked it back up, but I was doing a lot more research about it than the rest of my family. Like, my dad doesn't speak Spanish. My grandfather doesn't speak Spanish.
Wow.
And he was surrounded by Hispanics that spoke Spanish his whole life. But he was molded into his brain, hey, you're in America, you're going to speak English, you're going to learn the American way. So I saw a lot of the teachings, and if you notice, there's a lot of Mexicans that are Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And you typically wonder why. Well, in my opinion, it's because they take family so seriously. You see Mexican families that are huge, they're super connected, they always have gatherings, and I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
And I wanted that back for my family, because we used to do that, but everyone started to move away, everyone started to go their separate ways. But I wanted to bring that back. So I started doing a lot of research about, like, hey, why are so many Mexicans Catholic? Why are we learning about this? Why do they like this?
Yeah.
And so, like, I got into the topic of, like, Juan Diego's story and Our Lady of Guadalupe, because if you see a lot of Mexican guys have the Our Lady of Guadalupe tattoo, but you always want to wonder, like, why.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that's why I chose Juan Diego.
That's awesome.
Partially because of my heritage.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Do you have a confirmation name? Or you haven't even...
No, I actually I just started OCIA.
Okay.
Oh, awesome.
I have some ideas, though. I'm wrestling with choosing St. Thomas Aquinas.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know.
Can I ask why?
Yeah.
So
He's an intellectual.
one of the books, actually the most difficult book that I have ever read, was a book by St. Thomas Aquinas called Compendium Theologiae. And it is the summary of theology. It roughly translates from Latin, but it is the shorter version of the Summa Theologica, which is volumes and volumes of Thomas Aquinas' life work, where he breaks down every aspect of theology, and he breaks it down logically, and he uses syllogisms to wrestle with these specific terms. And my background in school, I did not go to a traditional public school. I did what's called Classical Conversations, which is a private Christian classical program. And in that program, we studied logic, we studied philosophy, we were required to learn how to debate two sides of an issue. The whole premise of the organization was around the Socratic method, leading with questions, asking questions to get to the root.
We talked about that too.
We talked about that last.
Yeah, it's awesome, but it's what that gave me. It did not teach me what to learn, it taught me how to learn. And in learning how to learn, I have found that I can come at any topic or any issue, and I can thrive because I have those skills. Now, the skills come from Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, the Greek philosophers. While of Aquinas so much is he took the ideas of the Greek philosophers and he merged them with the teachings of Christ.
Interesting.
And that's where the term substance and accents come from. They come from Aristotle. And the Catholic Church taught and believed in the real presence for 1,300 years.
They just didn't know how to explain it.
Right, and they
didn't have a
couldn't
word for it.
explain it until Aquinas came along.
Oh, that's so neat.
So there's so much philosophical background that I'm just so interested in, and the foundations of Western philosophy, that Aquinas just kind of like pulls everything together in the 14th century.
Yeah.
Do
That's
you
great.
have a
Love that.
sponsor?
No.
I think my mom would be a great sponsor.
Really?
For him.
Oh,
Yes,
please put
I love
Mr.
the meter.
Hernandez on.
No joke. I think my mom would make, because my mom's done a lot of that, like bringing people into the Catholic Church, and I should definitely hook you up with my mom, because I think she'd be a really good sponsor.
Yeah, I would love to meet her.
So Carter and I are fighting for years to get with your mom, and
now you're just gonna
you're offering Elliot to hook up with your mom after all these years.
Because he's not an ass about it. I went to him. He didn't go to me.
What the heck, man? Dang it.
Bring
We
back
screwed up.
arranged marriages.
I think my dad might have something to say about that, but you're more than welcome to try.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I think what segued into that was us talking about Protestant churches being a good stepping stone for
That was
getting
The
into
church in the gym.
Huh?
like an hour.
No, Jonathan had brought it up because we were talking about you getting into the gym.
Yeah.
And I was bringing up the fact that that's why I believe the Protestant church isn't a bad stepping stone to get new people into the church, because it's just fun.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've been talking for about an hour and 40 minutes.
Dang.
You want to have a closing statement real quick?
Dude, shout out your Instagram, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
Come on.
so it is thereal.ElliotMoore on Instagram, and it is Elliot with 2 L's and 2 T's. That's a common mistake.
W man.
But yeah, that's it.
No,
Awesome.
2 L's and 2 T's.
Do you,
Got it.
do you have any closing
Sounds
statements?
like
or
it.
anything
Joke.
anything you want to let the people off with?
I mean, I feel like we talked about a lot. Just big thanks to you guys for like having me on. This is so fun, dude. I love like sitting down and talking, but I feel like I don't know, I struggle with long form content when it's just me talking to a camera. It just feels like it's like
It's hard talking to a wall and just
Right,
trying to
right,
figure
right.
out when you're but when you're talking with other people, the conversation can flow a lot better. You're not going,
Exactly.
thinking of stuff to say, because he has time to think about what he wants to say.
Exactly, and you're bouncing ideas off of each other. It's great. So I really just appreciate you guys for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Before we close out, big shout out Elliot. It came on, was very well versed. I think we had a lot of great conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Please ask us anything you want to ask. I mean, all of this is in the good nature. We're all very close friends here, and we just want to learn more. That's going to be the goal of the podcast moving forward, is just learning more. And Elliot, I think you did an great job today. We really appreciate
Really good
you.
job. Very eloquent.
If you want to learn anything about Catholicism, he does great content on it, and he will get you into it and answer some of your questions.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's been the Gentleman's Table. We'll see you on the next one.
Appreciate you guys.